Hey, it's Filter Free Friday, y'all. Listen, we got work to do. Child, you know what the hardest thing in the world to do is to find your glasses when you ain't got them on your face. So I took way longer than I normally would um to get on today because I am looking for the glasses that I had on yesterday, child. I don't know what I did when they probably in my bed. But I was recently crowns my doctorate. For those of you who know, I just got my doctorate in 2020. In fact, didn't have a big old commencement because there was a little bit of pandemic in the way. But when you get down to the end of the process, if you haven't done it before, it feels kind of like a hazing. So you have a counselor and an advisor, and both of those people don't always have the same perspective around what they think should be true about what you're writing about. And they have different stylistic choices and all kinds of things. And towards the end, you find yourself correcting stuff that you have already corrected. So you maybe wrote it one way, and then somebody else sees it and they say they want it written a different way. Anyway, that was my experience. And I remember calling an advisor outside of my process and just complaining about it. And they were like, "Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?" And this was one of the second times in my life that somebody had asked me that question. And usually when they ask, the answer is I want to be effective. I want to be right. But but it is not helpful, right? Like you can be 100% correct in what you're saying, but if you're not getting the results you want, what difference does it make? And so I wanted to finish, and so I just started saying yes. Yep. What you want me to change? Yep. You got it. Yep. 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 And when I would change, when started acting that way, man, listen, next thing you know, I was Dr. Nicole Price, like real quick. And so it's like, how much time did I waste arguing about what I thought was the way something should be presented when I could have been finished? How much more money did that doctorate cost me when I could have been finished if I would have just trusted that the people who are, been doing this way longer than me knew what they were talking about? So that takes me to this here game we got on Sunday. And many of you know the Kansas City Chiefs are playing the Miami Dolphins in Germany. And Tyreek Hill left our team 2 years ago. Fast, okay? Fast receiver. And it just seemed like whenever Mahomes would throw the ball his way, Tyreek would catch it, even if it wasn't thrown perfectly, and could take off at just like the speed of light. And it was just a beautiful duo. And then when you add in, Travis Kelsey as another option, it just seems like the Chiefs were unbeatable. Tyreek Hill wanted an extra little bit of change. He couldn't get it, so he left and went to the Miami Dolphins. We don't even normally get to play the Miami Dolphins during the season. Somebody done rigged something somewhere where we playing the Miami Dolphins. So this about to be a Mahomes, Travis Kelsey lineup against basically Tyreek Hill. Like people have not even stopped saying Tyreek Hill during the Chiefs games just yet. And this game about to be played Sunday at 8 a.m. Okay. Now, I've been seeing, I got plenty. I don't know, some of y'all know I got plenty preacher friends. And many of my preacher friends are still planning to have church at their regular time on Sunday. My best friend's husband is a pastor of a church, and he's not a big football fan. And I think the fact that he's not a big football fan is the reason why he says stuff like this. He be like, if the Lord is important to you, you'll be in church on Sunday. Listen, y'all, don't y'all try to make this about whether or not people love the Lord or not. Every Sunday, almost, I'm at the Purcell Stairs at 7 a.m. I really want more people to join us. It's a fun time, even if you can't do the 10 rounds or the 1,000 stairs. But it often makes me late to church because by the time I leave there, it's 8 o'clock. By the time I get back to where I live in the Northland, shower, do all the things I do because I like to get ready for the Lord. I ain't going in my workout clothes. By the time I'm getting there, the pastor getting ready to get up and preach, right? Like that's what's happening because I'm gonna need to eat me something. I mean, it's like all the things. And one time there was there was a sermon about how um there's a preparation to get you ready for the sermon, and that's praise and worship. I agree. Praise and worship gets you ready for the service, which is why I do praise and worship every single morning so that I am ready for the preaching when it happens. Sometimes I'm even listening to church on my way there because I mean, I end up leaving my house by about 10 o'clock, get there 10:15. The person who says that somehow anybody who would say that somehow I don't love and appreciate God because I'm not going to be in church on Sunday morning, that is a very interesting perspective. And I think, you know what? I mean, you could go there if you want to. You can be right about that thing if you want to. How effective you gonna be? Because what I'm thinking is, let's see how this gonna work out on Sunday morning for churches everywhere. Because listen, recently I had a cousin say that Beyonce the devil, being a part of a sorority or fraternity is the devil, and all of these things just, you can't love God and do these things. And listen, y'all, I'm telling you, we completed the Olympic Games as a people, and then we're not even talking about just the United States, in the middle of a dang on almost World War III. People gonna do their entertainment regardless of what's happening. That's number one. Number two, when you consider the number of people who feel like they have been harmed by what is happening in the church, what we think we should do instead of apologize, repair harm, preach good news, figure out how to be where the people are so we can preach. Because quite frankly, I would argue, do I need somebody to preach to me if I already believe? Or do I need teaching? Do I need worship and teaching? Do I need good news to keep inspiring me and to go forward? And I think it would be the latter. But nonetheless, regardless of what any of us think, Tyreek Hill is going to be up against Patrick Mahomes. This massive marketing machine is behind it, and we ain't been talking about nothing else for 2 years besides Tyreek Hill when the Chiefs are playing. You think people going to be DVR in that game? I mean, y'all tell me, wherever you are, let me know what you think. But I got a feeling that yeah, that ain't gonna work out how folk think it's gonna work, how folk think it's gonna work out. They gonna be playing Kirk Franklin during the commercials and calling that worship is what they gonna be doing while they watching this game at 8 a.m. Central is what I think gonna happen. But y'all tell me. Another thing that I think is very, very interesting is that in all faith traditions, the attendance is going down. um, some churches are experiencing a market improvement in the number of people who are attending since COVID because of online attendance, but actual people in the seats has actually gone down. Now, I actually like going to church. I love going to church. I love being in church. I like worshiping with other people. There's some somatic things that happen in my body, especially when I go to places where they shout, honey, because what people try to act like shouting and praising is like not scripturally sound. But what I will tell you is that if you have African ancestry in your blood, that humming together, that thing, that call and response, that's ancestral, honey. And that has been a way that African people have released trauma from the body for centuries. And sometimes when we get away from those things, that yelling out, again, releasing trauma from the body, that clapping together, that rhythmic hum, all things that have been evidence-based and proven to release trauma from the body. I love all of that. I'm here for all of it. And Sunday I'm watching that game. Sunday I'm watching that game. And so what I can't imagine is people who have been hurt and harmed by the church, that they're going to be in worship on Sunday instead of going to be entertained instead. For people who have just are marginally religious, I don't think they're gonna be there. And so we can post all the social media memes we want, and we can be 1000% right in what we saying, and it ain't gonna be very effective in terms of getting people in church. Now I've seen some effective methods, and again, I'm open to ideas. Feel free to share them with me. But I've seen during Super Bowl time people having Super Bowl parties at their church and make it like a worship experience together. um but I think the best we could have done was probably to have worship on Saturday, because wasn't that the original Sabbath anyway? I don't know. I ain't about to get into no fight. And I would think some people could argue why we doing any of this was this entire genocide happening on the other side of the country. I mean, on the other side of the world. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But I think this idea where you need to come at, 10 o'clock, regardless, when the game probably ain't gonna be done until 10 o'clock, it is probably a losing battle. Now, I'm missing the greatest homecoming on earth. Sorrows, sorrows, prayers, prayers. And I feel like I'm missing out, but there's a couple books that I'm reading that I have read that I haven't told y'all about. I've mentioned Cole Riley's This Here Flesh before to you. It's Spirituality, Liberation, and the Stories That Make Us. If you don't follow Cole Riley on Instagram, I think you should. It's called at Black Liturgies. Listen, this book is fantastic, a fantastic reminder that you can't be all things to all people. You can't be everywhere all the time. And I 1000% recommend. The other one, the founder of the NAP ministry, Trisha Hershey, wrote Rest is Resistance. Both of these women are Black women, by the way. And I think that if you're one of those people who are just running yourself ragged, because me going to Greensboro this weekend would have been running myself raggedy. I've got a really busy travel week coming up. The last time I was in Greensboro, I had to work on the Monday after, and that was not a good thing. And that would have been the situation this time. And so I'm going to be holding these close to my heart, reminding myself that self-care is more important than all the things I'm going to miss. But y'all keep posting all of your posts. And I would have missed this Chiefs Dolphins game because I probably would have been on somebody's plane somewhere. And we ain't about to do that. One other thing I wanted to talk about today, speaking about people who have been harmed by the church and don't even particularly like to go, is the importance of an apology. I'm gonna write an entire article about this. There's a book called Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office. I don't have it in hard copy, I don't think. I think it was one of those ones that I got on Kindle before I realized that the whole Kindle movement was not my thing. I actually really like a physical book. Call me old, call me whatever you want. I'm a reader. What you ain't gonna never be able to call me as a non-reader. But anyway, I got off topic. This book, one of the things that it says about women is that we apologize too much. And my cousin Jocelyn, some of you know her, she works with me. When I first started working with Jocelyn closely, she would apologize for everything, like things that you don't even need to be sorry for. She would apologize for calling. She would apologize for needing to walk past you. She would just apologize. Just it was almost her filler word. I'm sorry was her filler term. But I had a relationship here recently, a professional one, where these people have dropped the ball a million times over. And I was having a conversation with three women on my team about it. And not once did they say the words, I'm sorry. And I wonder sometimes if we read these things that say we say I'm sorry too much and then don't say sorry when we should. Like, I am not an apologist. I don't I will not apologize if I do not mean it. But when I have harmed you, when I'm wrong, I'm gonna say the words, I'm sorry. I'm very interested in knowing what do I need to do to correct whatever harm I've done. And sometimes for some people, they can't get to forgiveness from me and they don't want to reconcile. And that is okay. That is their right. And my responsibility, though, is to, if I have harmed you, to acknowledge that harm and to say I am sorry. And so I was kind of taken aback because one of the things that I asked for was, well, that I was complaining about was like, on this day that I wasted my time and my money because of incorrect information that you have given me, no one even called to say, I'm sorry. And I happen to be a person who's a words of affirmation person. So you could really say you sorry to me, and that actually gets you really far. Unless you're just saying I'm sorry over and over and over again. Sorry can get you pretty far. And I just think that I don't know what's happened to us, but sometimes we be willing to blow folks off the planet before we just apologize for something that we have done wrong, for harm that we have caused. But I don't know if y'all saw this week that the National Association of Realtors just got awarded $1.8 billion. And for those of you who don't know the difference between billion and million, you can live for 1 million seconds and only be about 11 days old. To live for 1 billion seconds, you're going to be well into being a very grown adult. So these two things are not the same. $1.8 billion, almost $2 billion, and a judgment against the National Association of Realtors because they were accused of discriminatory practices in terms of how they were splitting the the payment for the buyer's agent and the seller's agent, suggesting that there was some discriminatory policies in there. Now, what I thought was interesting in this $1.8 billion jury award is that especially in the Kansas City Star, there was no mention of the fact that it was also the National Association of Realtors who determined if you can only sell houses if you're a realtor. They're the ones who created the MLS system, and also the ones who put into their governing documents that you couldn't sell homes to Black people. Y'all know where I'm going with this? So when you consider the history of racial harm and terror that has been done to Black people, and let's just start from the 1950s forward when redlining became a real thing and Black people were denied the opportunity, birthed here in Kansas City, the opportunity to buy houses and build wealth. Meanwhile, folks coming back from wars, being given land grant institutions, all kinds of things, buying homes, building generational wealth that we still see happening today. No mention. Now, the Kansas City Star done ran that huge article on reparations. There have been plenty of articles covering the National Association of Realtors apologizing to Black people for redlining and the historic harm that has been caused. And yet, if you bring up the term reparations or repair and harm, first of all, ain't nobody even willing to say, I'm sorry. What's more likely to happen is they're going to say that that was so long ago, we don't even need to be talking about it today, number one. Or they'll say, I'm not responsible for what my ancestors did, number two. Or number three, y'all just lazy if y'all stop buying Jordans and hot Cheetos and you should be able to have money. All kinds of like ridiculousness. And yet, if you read this article in the Kansas City Star, you'll see very clearly that we know exactly what it looks like to repair economical harm when it ain't got nothing to do with Black people. And we know how to say sorry with money when it's necessary. And I just think it's fascinating the hypocrisy that we hold sometimes. And so we got a lot of am I right? I know I'm right. I don't In this case, I don't even know how to be effective, but I think you should know that here in Kansas City, the Urban Summit tomorrow is hosting Nicole Hannah Jones over at Metropolitan Community College off of 31st Street. I think the event is sold out, but if you know somebody, maybe you can get in. And it's starting at 7:30, and they're going to be talking about the history of redlining in Kansas City. And I know reparations is going to come up. And if you're going to be there before you take a stance against redlining, um, don't be wrong and ineffective. Just know the National Association of Realtors was just ordered to pay our $1.8 billion for something else, and it was up until 2015 when we stopped paying reparations for slavery. It was just we were paying those reparations to people who had lost their enslaved people. We were paying white folk for the harm that was caused to them because they didn't have no free labor no more. I done got way off topic. Here's what I'll tell you. Sugar. This Sunday, all the football fans gonna be somewhere watching the game. And I don't believe that's any indication of how much they love Jesus or not. But y'all tell me, who am I to say? But I'm gonna here's what I'm gonna go with. The Lord know my heart. It's filter free Friday, y'all. We got work to do.